Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and today we're going to be looking at some hands I played on Sky last night. It's a mix of cash and tournament hands, and we're going to be joined by a very special guest. We have got Sky part-time streamer, Sky full-time microwaver of lasagnas, and Sky full-time moan about everything ever, Shrimpy joining us. Shrimpy28, Shrimpy28, whatever you want to call him. He's going to be joining us on the call, and I'm going to be looking forward to chatting to him because he's a good guy. He is one of the good guys. He's good fun. He's an enthusiastic poker player at times, sometimes not so enthusiastic, but always good value. And hopefully you guys will enjoy our chat with him. I'm just going to call him up now, and then we're going to get into just shooting the shit about poker in general, probably, and maybe laughing at some of these hands I played. Maybe sometimes laughing at me, sometimes laughing at our opponents, but hopefully laughing quite a lot. So in just a moment, we'll have Shrimpy on the call.
I don't recognise any of these cash names apart from Conga, but that's unsurprising as I don't regularly play normal cash anyway. Like spins, yes, but
this guy I just tagged Orange. He's a reg. I think he's
okay.
I think he's probably decent. I've chatted with him a few times. He said he plays on other sites too. I think by his own admission, he's a bit too aggressive. He's not going to play a part in this hand, but he seems like a decent guy. This guy plays most nights, but he's kind of a bit aggressive, and he's definitely a tilt monkey. And I don't know this guy or this guy myself. He's tagged green, but that's probably just because I've seen him do stuff like this, like open limp. As you can see, I've got no notes on him, so I don't know anything about him. But obviously, we're going to ISO with the Jack 10. And we pick up a call here. What do you think about c-betting this board multi-way?
It's not one that I'd be c-betting, not four-way. Very difficult to see three players folding to one bet in this particular spot.
It is.
It's pretty connected.
There's going to be some pretty cool. My thoughts here were I was the same as you. C-betting multi-way is not something I do generally, but this guy is very aggro on the button, and I think if we check, he's very likely to just mash pot, and then we have to just fold, which stinks. And I think I butchered this hand a little bit because I decided to try and set my own price, because if one of these guys was behind me and he'd already checked, I'd have been much happier checking, because I think we're likely to see a free turn more often. I don't think this guy's going to give us a free turn too often. He's very, very button mash happy. So I tried to set my own price, which I'm not sure is a good thing. Not sure if we should just check.
The problem that I find for people in particular who just pot it is equally they don't like folding when facing a bet, and the issue I see here is I think we're going to have to fire multiple bullets here, because we're not going to just bet one and then give it when he calls, are we?
It depends on the turn card. I mean, the turn card's like the deuce of fucking hearts. Yeah, I probably would just give up, I think. Which I wouldn't like doing. The only reason I want to bet here, if we had like Jack 10 of hearts, I wouldn't. I'd just give up. But you got that little 3 of clubs there, and I'm just like, ooh, backdoor. We've got a good shot overs, which may be good against this guy. I mean, if we hit a Jack or a 10, we maybe improve to the best hand. And then we've got to have a bunch of clubs we can barrel. Obviously, if we hit an 8 or a queen, we're golden. So I don't think we're just always giving up on turns, because sometimes we're going to hit stuff we can continue with, as we're about to see, to be fair.
Right.
Okay. So we do hit probably one of the best turn cards in the deck, apart from maybe obviously an 8 would have been the Nizzles. But again, now we've been called multi-win. Are we barreling here? Now we've picked up a shit ton of equity.
If you think that XJR is going to smash £7, I mean, I struggle to think of many hands that the button villain is going to be betting big with this turn card. Because even if he's on a 6-8, or if he's got diamonds, even a 7, he's not going to be. Can't see him betting loads here, betting much of the time at all. And the problem is, I mean, if you bet and you get raised, I guess I guess we'd go with it. Oh, wait, what? I mean, what would you bet? 4, 11, 29. You got. I think I prefer check calling in this spot, and then to go in. I mean, yeah, I don't like getting bet raised here, but that's just me.
No, this is me being a bit of a moron again, taking a few too many liberties, because I again just try to set my own price, and I think I totally fucked this hand up, because that should never be a thing, that size. This is me
No,
just trying to
that
prevent him.
looks.
Yeah, it's shit.
Yeah,
I just try to
yeah, it
prevent
looks
him from
exactly what
betting
it
big.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this is never. I wouldn't do this with value. If I had any kind of
No.
value hand here, this is not. I'd never use this size. This is just me taking liberties with two players who I think are probably quite bad, and just trying to like not have to check call a larger bet. Because
Mm.
I know you said you don't think he's going to bet with the seven. I think if we check this player in particular would have a very wide range for just dropping a fucking bomb, because that's just what he does. Um,
Yeah, but even if he does
it
do
wouldn't make
that,
sense that for him to do a lot of
but,
his range, but he does a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense.
but
But yeah, go
now
on, mate. Sorry, yeah.
when he jams, we have to fold, I presume, because we're not as committed as much now, and also the pot was £7 on the turn, so even if he bets 3/4, it's not. It's only a few quid more than you've put anyway. Like, and it's certainly the more passive route, but I mean, I would now. I wouldn't make this bet size because if I was in XJR's shoes and I had half a brain, I'd look at it, especially playing against you, knowing you, I'd know this is never nutted, um, and I'd be all over this. I'd
Yeah,
probably be raising it myself, but
yeah,
yeah,
and
let's
that's
see
what
what he does.
happens. Yeah, he just does that, and this is where I'm bad at maths, because I'm there. I've got other tables going and try to calculate fucking pot odds and shit, and
15 to 43, 3 to 1. You probably get the odds, but it's just grim, and you put all your money on the Jack High.
yeah, yeah. Because I'm an eight, I end up like just fucking folding. I get close a couple of times, because this guy that against him, there's a small chance our Jack and 10 might be good. That might sound fucking bonkers, but
No, no,
the guy is fucking psychotic. But I hadn't been playing at this table long. He's a tilt monkey too, so he hadn't been playing like he's tilted, but you never fucking know. And yeah, I butchered it. Just me just taking liberties with like green tag players, thinking I can pretty much do what I want. What are they going to do about it? And then he
yeah.
tells me precisely what he's going to fucking do about it, and I have to like just muck my hand, and it's very sad. And I definitely butchered that hand. So we got the same table again. This sidestep, I still don't know anything about him. First time I recall seeing him, he's 4x, which is unusual, but this guy has posted, so maybe that's why. If he's a regular, then this would be a normal size, but maybe he was just going to 4x whether this guy posted or not. We just don't know. But
Yeah, I was going to say I'd you'd make it 4x. I'd make it 4x with the random poster. There.
yeah. So what's your 3-bet size here then?
What are we out of position? Yeah, that's it. 3. Yeah, I was going to say about 320, something like that.
Yeah, I was like
somewhere in that ballpark.
I would normally 4x here too, but I'm not sure if the extra dead money of this and this makes it we should go a little bit bigger. I want to show. 4x was my instinct. Let's go 4x. I was like, let's go 4x and a little bit more. That was my instinct. But when you start getting too big, and it's people just aren't gonna call. I wouldn't imagine too often. So it's a bit of a tricky one. Sometimes you can maybe.
It would depend. It would depend on the green tag to the left of you. If he's just seeing every flop, then there's obviously we can go bigger. But if we're not sure, like how much of how much I have to see. I've got 2 cards. I have to see every flop. Then I don't think you can go far wrong anyway. Like
No.
320, 360. Like
If you just see every flop guy, he'd be blue. He's green. I think he's loose, but he's not like crazy loose. But I think his biggest leak that I've seen is that he just loses his temper at times and just goes potty in spots where he's just not entitled to. That's my read that I have on him. I mean, he plays a lot of big pots, doesn't always play them optimally, should we say? But he's not like I'm going to see 60% plus flop Sky. I don't think he is anyway. That's the problem with Sky, which is a good thing as well, is that you just don't know what people's like numbers look like. But that's why Sky's so soft, because there is no like hold'em manager where you can know everything about your opponents. So I think I ended up making it 17 bigs, which I think's all right.
Yeah.
And then we get this flop, and I think this is one of the more interesting things I've changed to my game lately. Is that like we have a 3-bet pot and we have a monotone flop. So everything about modern strategy is bet small here, isn't it? That's just what modern strategy dictates. Monotone board and a 3-bet pot. We're supposed to bet small. Would you? I'm not saying do you agree with the theory, but do you agree that that's probably what most players are thinking these days? Well, most regs are thinking on this type of board texture these days.
This is very useful because I can now get some advice from you, because these particular spots I sort of tend to play the same, and sort of the results are mixed. I treat this as flopping a flush is, flopping a flush is difficult. It doesn't happen very often. So I always continue quite sizable, and not prepared. This particular hand, not prepared to fold and assume that the opponent will get it in with a top pair and a flush draw, or even no pair and just a flush draw, and sometimes they'll have it, and sometimes they'll just go crazy for just a bare queen with no spade. So my sizing here would be maybe 3/4 and then in on the turn, and I would assume that's fairly bad, but it's a tricky one. It's not. It's just one I just always sort of stick to the same line, and just sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I'm actually on your line of thinking with this now. It's something that lately it's been doing my fucking nut. My results have been moderate at cash lately. I've been winning, but not as much as I'd like to think I should be. That could be because the game's catching up with me. It could be because, and I think it's way more likely because, I've been trying to employ strategies that, to be frank, I just do not understand. I did quite a lot of study with Camel and Craig and what have you in July and August, and that was really useful to help me understand what other regulars are thinking. But when I came to try and apply that to my own game, it didn't feel comfortable to me. It didn't feel natural to me. And in the games I put myself in, to be honest with you, and this is no disrespect to those lads because they're both way better at poker than me, it just felt bad in the environments that we play in, which is mostly Sky or with me, like Microstakes Cash on other sites where players, they're not geniuses, that you're playing 20 and L and 30 and L and 25 and L for a reason. It's because you're okay at poker. I mean, I'm not a bad player by any stretch, but it's like I said in the Discord yesterday, we're all fucking shit still. We're not good.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, I think a lot of this stuff that solvers and that are spitting out is obviously, I'm not denying it's correct. It has to be. I mean, a computer spent 6 months fucking figuring this shit out. When you put a solver in, it takes months to come up with a solution. It's obviously the computer's put more thought into it than you and I have looking at a hand for 5 fucking minutes on a Thursday morning. So I'm not denying it's correct. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't think it's necessarily the best way to play the games we play in. I think against regs it has more merit when it's reg versus reg, and your opponent's like wellish studied. I think you have to pay it more heed there. But I think in these games against like probably relatively bad players like yourself, you can still use. I think old school strategies still work a lot better in most spots. So I've actually gone back to like not having small bet sizes very often now. I use them in tournaments, and there's going to be a hand later where I use them because like you're pretty shallow stacked to begin with. When you're 30 bigs deep, you can get away with small bet sizes, even with good hands, because it's not going to stop you getting the money in if your opponent's in the part of the range where they're going to stack off. It doesn't stop you stacking off. But I think in like microstakes cash, I think the small bet, especially against like players who are maybe worse than you, is just an overall not as good a strategy as just like being a bit more exploitable, bluffing slightly less, and just like increasing your sizing when you're value betting, because a lot of the purpose of a small bet is it protects your bluffs. But if you're in games where you're not going to be bluffing as frequently because either you're in too many multi-way pots or you don't believe your opponents are going to fold, then we've got less bluffs to protect. So like if your raise like mine is going to be a lot more value heavy, then I haven't got as many bluffs to protect. So why bother trying to fucking protect them instead of just going for like fat value? And I could be like way off there, but I don't feel like I am, because since I've started doing this in like the last 10 days, like abandoning the quarter pot, the 1/3 pot sizings for the most part, my results have been significantly better. Because what seems to happen, because I'm a fucking bad player, is that I'll bet small, somebody will raise, and I won't believe them because I believe that they're raising because I fucking bet small. So what's been happening is I'm still losing the fucking maximum in like cooler type spots, or in spots where I just haven't got the best hand. But I'm not always winning the maximum when I've got a good hand, because my bet sizings allow me to fucking win it. So I've gone back to like, I'm kind of not using small bets. I will use them against like players who are really good and just like you have to, but against like anyone who I don't know or who I think is quite bad, I'm just using like more old school sizings of half pot plus. And I actually played a session on Unibet last night where I only had like very limited sizings. I never used less than half pot. So a half pot, 3/4 pot, or like really big bets. And it just to me, it makes the game a lot cleaner. You know, if you bet 3/4 pot and somebody raises you, then the chances are they've just got a pretty good hand. If you bet a 1/3 pot and somebody raises you, it gets fucking confusing. And
that's the thing, because you're inducing. You're always daring them to fucking
exactly.
to put you in the bin, aren't you? Yeah. So
and then
I completely agree with
you've
that.
been in loads of chats where Waller and I have had this conversation where we're just shit at bet folding, you know, because we think we bet small. With maybe the intention of folding because we know people don't bluff raise, but because we bet small and that nagging doubts in our mind, oh, he's doing this because I bet small, which rarely is the case.
Yeah, 100%.
But
100%.
you know, I mean, this is the spot I agree with you where we're just never going to bet fold anyway.
I think this is slightly different. If I was in position, I'd have some mix of. I'm more in control of being able to control the pot a little bit more. So there would be some times where if I was in position, I would check back this board. But my thinking here is we're not folding to a one bet anyway. We have the aggression in hand. I want to keep with the aggression because, like I say, we're not folding out flush draws anyway. We're not folding to a bet if we do check, and then we're giving up initiative. Because if we check call here, and then a blank comes and he shoves it on a turn, what the fuck do we do then? Like, so it's almost like a cop out from my end with spots like this. Cause I try just to avoid difficult decisions by getting, say, £5 in now. And I don't know how much is in his stack. But if I've got 5 in and he calls, all of a sudden I've got a pot size bet left on a turn. And
he's got 21 quid thereabouts.
Right. So yeah. So if I check and he bets whatever, I'm not folding anyway. But then if a blank comes and I check, I just rather have the initiative in my hand because I think we're still ahead of a lot that I'm prepared to be burnt with the times that we're behind to get the money in and just have the aggression, but it could be bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think checking's good. I mean, fine, if we check and he does bet, we'll probably have to check the turn as well. And his bet allows him to see both cards then effectively, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of doing on this board texture. So I think it's always a bet, and I'm glad. Well, I'm not saying I'm glad because we could both be fucking wrong, but I'm glad you're on board with the larger sizing because pretty sure that's what I go for.
But if we're in position, I think we can still possibly go for the larger sizing, and then we can check the turn maybe, and then reassess it with what comes. Not saying sometimes I just go with it still, like bet flop, bet turn, but I think it's easier. Obviously, as most hands are when you're in position.
Yep. I mean, I don't go with the huge. I thought I went bigger here from memory, but I mean, I've only gone. I don't know. I've gone 2/3 pot thereabouts. Yeah. I thought I'd gone a bit bigger, but I mean, the standard bet there would be like 25%, 30% pot, wouldn't it? Which I just don't think is good in this spot. And then he does that, and obviously we've already agreed we're calling, so we're not gonna sit and discuss should we call here or not. If we're fucked, basically.
I mean, before you reveal his hand, for me, I think it's easier to call anyway. Like, I mean, how many times do people just do that with a flop flush? I'm not sure. Especially if we're saying this guy, like a fish, yeah, okay, an outright fish might do it, but I'd be very surprised if he turns it with 2 spades here, and I'm leaving myself every opportunity to have egg on my face. But this looks like an ace queen or something with the ace of spades, something like that.
Yeah, I think he's gonna maybe have all the sets. some flushes, but not loads, because we did make it quite big pre. So it's unlikely he's going to have defended. I mean, if we made this like a smaller 3-bet pre, let's say we were in position and we made like a 9x 3-bet and then he's check raised us here, you can have a lot more flushes. You can have a lot more of the like 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, all those. I think when we make it 17 blinds pre, we fold a lot of that stuff out. So his flushes are going to be a lot more
And
like
also,
Broadway type card. And there's 2 of them out there. You know, if
well,
this
I was going to
board
say,
was,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, there's not many flushes he has with the Queen and Jack out
no,
there.
no, if this was like a 9 high board with the flush draw, I think there's a lot more flushes he could have. But
Yeah.
you know, what does he really have in terms of like flushes? Not too many, I don't think. I mean, I don't think I overly milk. No, I called very quickly. It's like same as you. But
That's
fuck
brilliant.
it. I'm just going with it. You know, I'm betting big and I'm not folding. And if we're fucked, we're fucked. And even though we were fucked, I wasn't bothered. I was happy with him playing this hand. And then that happened, and it was fucking delightful. It was all good fun.
But you know what? Yeah, there aren't many flushes he can have. But if he has, I mean, and also the having the king of spades in his hand is unlikely with you having 2. But ace queen with a spade, king queen with a spade. You know, I think there's enough. There's plenty of hands that mean that for me doesn't feel like bad to get that in there. Like,
no.
And when we know we're going to get a fucking paired turn of river, and why would we not get it in?
Yeah, I just got a bit old school lately. I've got an overpaid to 3-bet pot. Fuck it, it's just going in because I spent a lot of time just guessing and second guessing myself, and you know my results have been kind of meh. So I'm like, well, what difference it really make long term? Go on, mate.
Yeah,
sorry.
if you had king queen there, I think people could throw the argument that you've overplayed your hand, but I think your hand's pretty strong, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He could definitely have some queen exit. He's just trying to protect. He can sometimes just have the naked ace of spades and be like, that bet's pretty big. I can't just call, so fuck it, YOLO it. That would be reasonable. Not say it's a reasonable line for him to take, but it's a reasonable thought process for him to go down. So no, I don't hate that. It was just this time was in mostly because A, it's an amusing suck out, and B, I wanted to talk a little bit about the like just getting away from the less than half pot sizings, which, like I say, I know theoretically are good, but in practice, there's like, I think you're adding too many layers of complexity to your strategy if you can't study really, really hard. I felt I've been trying to use a strategy that I knew about 10% of, basically, for the last 6 weeks, maybe even longer than that. And rather than use a strategy that I know about 10% of, I'd rather just, while I'm in like still playing the soft games on Sky, I'd rather use a strategy that fine is old school, it's not cutting edge, but one that, as long as you're always in soft games, won't let you down. So I've kind of gone back to being a bit more like ABC, or maybe even just AB. Maybe we're not even at C anymore, because I've certainly tightened up a little bit too, and things have been going a fair bit better since then. Not so much in terms of my results, just in terms of like how confident I am when I'm playing, just how much I enjoy playing more, because I'm not sat there thinking, oh, what size should I be using here? You know, what does the fucking computer say? I mean, and I get it, and I promise you, I'm not like some salty old school fucking nit who's saying all solvers and that are shit, because they're not shit. They come up with some very interesting stuff, and they come up with stuff that's just fucking correct. But you know, it's correct if you you can only put so many ranges in, and like if you're using a solver, I think they call it node locking, do they, something like that, and you're not inputting what your opponent's ranges correctly, then the solver output isn't going to be correct for you either.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think a lot of the solver stuff I've seen is assuming that our opponents are playing better pre-flop than they actually are. You know, and I think we were out chatting with Craig once and on a call, and I said, this isn't right, Craig. I said, because this opponent's not going to have that range you've put in. And that's when he talked about node locking. I don't even know what he fucking was, but apparently node locking is when you put like your opponent's actual range in rather than just what the computer thinks that your opponent's range should look like given the action so far. And
with that in mind, Reg, what do you make of Matey Boy putting 17 bigs in with Queen Jack suited? That's perfectly fine, standard.
No, I don't. I think it's probably pretty bad against the size I made it.
I was thinking that, but I know I don't play 100 big blind cash, so I don't know the correct. I'd certainly be terrible at inputting the correct ranges because I don't know them. Like so,
well,
like that's
here's the thing. Neither do I, because unless you know your opponent really well, how can you know what what
Yeah.
their range is. I mean, I don't know this guy from a fucking hole in the ground. He could be a massive whale. He could be a new regular that I'm not aware of. He might be even better than me, and this might be fine. But I think like suited broadways are not really good cards to defend three bets with, especially large three bets, because you're just going to be fucking like a lot of the times you're going to be totally dominated. If we're going to continue here with the suited connector, I'd probably much rather have some like 4-5s and 6-5s because you're still as fucked against aces and what have you, aces and kings. But with like Jack Queen, if I've got kings here, I'm blocking a lot of his potential to make a straight, for example.
Yeah, sure.
And whereas if he's got 6-5, I'm not blocking any of his potential. I mean, I could be butchering all of this, but if I was going to continue with suited connectors, which I personally wouldn't, versus 17 bigs pre, I'd much rather have some smaller ones than like Jack Queens, King Queens, things like that, because I think you just end up on the wrong side of a cooler too often with the Jack Queen more than you do when you defend like the 6-5 and the 7-8s and 6-7s and things like that. Could be wrong.
I agree. No, that's why I asked, because my gut instinct was that doesn't seem great. Like, it seems like a lot of big blinds. But I'd be interested if there's any comments from people better than me about just how they play that flop, or what their sort of
to be fair, I like their shove on the flop because I like it to be ahead on the flop. What flushes do I have? I mean, the only flushes I have really are going to be like ace high ones and ace good ones. You know, ace probably only given the queen and the jack are out there, probably only ace king of spades given how much you made it pre.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fuck to sets, but the block sets really hard because they've got a jack and a queen, and I don't make it 17 bigs pre with pocket fours. So that flop comes down. They're probably entitled to think I have the best hand. My opponent's big, so my opponent's probably got some reasonable equity in the pot still, or thinks he has. So I actually think his jam's fine. I liked his jam because he's just going to get value from people like me with pocket kings or pocket aces a lot. So yeah, I mean, I think once the flop comes down, he's played it fine. I'm just not sure he should be reaching a flop. That's my take on that.
Can't argue any of that. Interesting hand, Reg. Really good one.
So here we've got this one. It's against this guy from...
We just play kings and aces on this channel, don't we?
I did say I'd tightened up a little bit. So yeah, this one's not really that interesting until the river.
Right.
To be fair, it's not even that interesting before the river. We just got like, this guy's the same guy from earlier, the one who thinks like, if you check to him, he just bombs. So maybe we could think about check raising this guy here. But I don't want to risk it.
Did you lead the flop last? No, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did the pot control two barrel thing and got fucked by him. That's what I did.
I hope you're going to bet sort of like half pot. Yeah,
no, I didn't, Shrimpy. I just fucking... What I should do, you're right, if I want to be balanced against this guy, which I'm not asked about being, is I should be using like that small size against him again, but I don't because I'm a fucking moron.
Board's getting dodgy now. You want to be sizing it now, I think, anyway.
So what do you do on this river? I think that this has been dead standard to now. Blind be blind, two sizable-ish bets. And then we get to this river where everything's bricked. But this guy could very easily have an awful lot of like two pairs and things here as well because he's that loose. I mean, look at that board. There's like two pairs central. There's some straights that have got there, but there's an awful lot that's missed as well.
There's two pairs. Yeah, I don't know what if he's got a three in his hand. I don't know why he's calling flop. I wouldn't be so worried about the three. There are two pairs out there, but I think there's still plenty of hands that we get value from. I think it's too nitty to check. I'll be looking about half potish, 40%.
Because what I do here, I check here because of my read on this guy that he just loves to fucking drop bombs when he's checked to. And I think, I was watching something the other day, I can't remember which, I think it was a BBZ thing, just a free thing because I'm too tight to fucking pay. And they were talking about like, I think it's like on any street, but I think they were talking about the river in this particular hand. Like which bucket does our hand fall into here? Does it fall into like a value bet bucket or does it fall into a better bluff catcher bucket? And against this player in particular, I think against a lot of players it's just a value bet. Against this player in particular, rightly or wrongly, I decided it fell into a bluff catcher bucket because of the frequency I think he will bet with when I check.
I think it probably doesn't make that much difference because your hand is pretty indirect, really. that even if he has got a 9, obviously he's definitely betting 100%. Obviously he's gonna have to. I mean, I'd be surprised if he's got a flush draw because he's played it quite passively. But I think there is probably going to be a lot of hands that he's going to think. I don't know, Reg. I still prefer a bet personally, but I don't think checking's the worst.
Well, I think this hand, and this isn't me showing up because, as you know, I'm happy to fucking slag myself off and be self-deprecating when needs be. But I think this hand is actually like a good advertisement for just knowing more about your opponents and like having good notes, knowing about them, and then if you think you've got a good read on somebody, just trusting it and using it to try and exploit them, because that's why we develop reads. We develop reads to try and exploit people, don't we? That's the whole point of them. And I know it's harder for you tournament guys because the pools are just fucking way bigger. I mean, the Sky Cash pool's shrinking by the fucking week, sadly. It's harder in tournaments. I think against an unknown in a tournament, I agree with you, it's just a bet. But against this guy, I felt there was more value in checking. And then the only question is, do we check
How much does he have to put in before? How much does he have to put in before you go? Oh, I don't know. Really,
he'd have to put more in than he's got in his stack.
Okay.
If he went all in here, I would absolutely snap. There's no question. I'm not checking to fall to this guy.
Right, fair enough.
So he makes it pop pretty big. And now the question is just like, do we raise or not? Because I think if this guy does have a 9, he's not bet folding it, but he's raising now too thin. I mean, we've got what we wanted. We've induced a big bet from him. So do we just call?
You've got more value than I would. You've got more value than I would have got, so I'd just be calling here. But I have been known to value own myself several times.
Well, the thing is, if you're not value owning yourself, you're not value betting enough. It's simple.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most basic rules in poker. If every time you bet and get called, you always win, then you're not betting enough. It's that simple. That's actually one of the things I like about your game, because you are out there thin value hunting, and that's, you know, especially in tournaments, that's what you've got to do. You know, you're going to be a better tournament player than me because I'm too fucking nitty and too showdown happy, whereas you're not. You're out there, think I've got the best hand, just going to fucking bet. And yeah, sometimes you're right, you fucking burn yourself, but you know, you quite often build some quite big stacks, which is essential in bounty hunters, especially because when it gets late on, you know, you've a lot of the prize pools in bounties, and if you don't cover any cunt like I rarely do, then half the prize pool isn't fucking open to you. So yeah, I actually, you know, one of the things I like most about your game is the fact that you don't fucking back down from value betting, and I think it's really fucking useful tool. And fine, you own yourself sometimes. Well, if you weren't, you're not doing it enough. I don't own myself enough with value bets. I know for a fact I don't. I should bet and lose way more than I fucking do.
Let's see you own yourself here then.
No, we don't this time. I mean, he just turns up with that, which is fucking nonsense. I mean, flop, I kind of get it. You know, he's got 2 overcards, he's got some backdoors. Turn, no idea why he's still there on the turn. No. But that's the joy of like knowing your opponents, isn't it? That was like a very villain-based line there. I mean, when he calls a turn, I just presume he's going to have a lot of draws. I mean, he did have a draw. He had a draw to fucking nothing, but yeah, in his head he had 2 overcards, didn't he? I guess.
Do you know what as well, Reg? I do actually. I do like the way you play that, because if I bet half pot and he jams, which is well in his game, what the fuck do you do then? Like, yeah, I agree with you on that one actually. Because, like you say, even if he's got a 9 anyway, he's not checking back at 9.
No, never. This guy would treat a 9
like checking Michelle Keegan.
Yeah, which is still on, I think. She hasn't responded to much. I tweeted her about 8 years ago, inviting her out for a drink. I don't think she's seen it yet because she hasn't responded. But that's still on. You know?
Left it open, yeah.
That seed has been sown, and I'm ready to sow my. Well, I haven't got a seed anymore because I'm vasectomized. But I'm ready to sow my seminal fluid anytime she wants to, you know. I mean, I still watch that thing on YouTube where at the start of that skint she was in, and some bloke's fake banging her, and she says, "Finish on me tits." That's one of the most erotic things I've ever heard on my life. It was fucking tremendous. You know, I almost ejaculated to a flaccid penis when I first saw that. It was fucking tremendous. But me and Keegan, don't write it off. I'm not saying it will happen, but you can't rule it out just yet.
Won't be rushing down to bookies anytime soon to get better.
Fair enough. I think you're probably quite shrewd there. So right, we're into some tournament section stuff now. I think there'll be more tournament hands coming forward. This is more your bag. So we've got this guy who's just been green tagged.
Tell me to fuck off. Tell me to fuck off, Reg. Or don't give too much information away. But are you exposing what the colours specifically mean, or just?
I don't mind. Green is
good,
just
good.
Red is good. I don't know if Fishy went very well, but I believe he's a mate of Phil Baker's and he's quite good. So he's just tagged anecdotal. He seems like a fucking nit to me. I'd barely see him play a hand. And green is just my tag for someone who is clearly having fun. I don't want to be too nasty these days because
No.
I'm not in Sky's good books by any stretch, but I'm not in the totally bad books. So I don't want to be too nasty. Green is someone who probably, plays more for fun. They play for fun rather than profit, I would imagine. So this guy, he's been doing a fair bit of limping, and then he just tank and then min race under the gun. So that made me a bit nervous. But who knows? He might have been just watching fucking Emmerdale and not noticed his fucking hand for all I know. But I don't know if we should just be at this depth. Do we just fucking rip 27, 26 bigs?
27. Yeah, I probably I take a lot of lazy spots. With it being a rebuy as well, I'm much more inclined to just get it in here because, like you say, if we get a stack, especially in these, like the 5R, in the later stages, it goes. It gets shallow quite quickly anyway.
See, I wouldn't have rebought at this point. I wouldn't be rebuying in for just you're rebuying now, and even when you double rebuy, you've only got 20 bigs. I ain't buying a double rebuy for 20 bigs.
This looks like this looks like it's the last level before add-on. Actually, yeah. Sometimes I'll rip Reg, sometimes I don't think this. The problem is that these stat debts, it's not really a free bet size. Like if a free bet, we're not folding, so we might as well rip.
Yeah.
So I think calling. I probably would. I'd mix it up. There'd be some calls, there'd be some jams at this stage. If it was early on, and I had 27 big blinds effective to my stack, I'd probably be more inclined to rip it, try and get a stack, and if I bust, rebuy. Not a problem. But
well, that actually brings me on to a question I was going to ask in the Discord, but I'm just going to ask you now because it's come to my mind. Is what's your strategy in these rebuys? Because when I play a rebuy, I don't play it with the intention of rebuying. I quite often look in the Discord and people are like, oh yeah, I'm in the fucking whatever rebuy for 9 bullets but I mean, I'm not into that. I buy in, I take the add-on, I take the double rebuy straight away, and then my plan is take the add-on if I reach the add-on stage. But unless I lose half my stack very early, in the first couple of levels, and then I'll rebuy again. But very rare. I just tend to play like a freeze out. Only, I basically I'm starting a tournament. Most people don't rebuy at the start, so I'm starting a tournament with twice as many chips as anybody else, or twice as many chips as a lot of people, which I think is really good value because I'm going to be better than probably 60+% of the field, and I just to play it like a freeze out. I'll maybe once in a blue moon I'll rebuy early if I bust my stack and I've got a good table, but I tend to just buy in, take my second bullet, if you will, straight away, and then just play like a freeze out. And if I get busted, I get busted. Are you someone who will just keep firing at rebuys?
No, but I'm not probably the best person to ask this because there's a lot. It depends on a lot of things. Like sometimes I'll first thing it depends on his table count. And sometimes I don't even play this tournament because I have the 6:30. And the 7 at 7. So say I'm still in them at 7:30, 7:45. I've got the main coming up. So sometimes I don't bother playing it. Sometimes I'll just max late reg it and the 3R. I think there's merit. I think there's not merit in max late reg in bounty hunters, but there's more. There's more of a reason to do it in these rebuys because the bounties are still relatively small anyway. It's £2.50 on a head, so you're getting £1.80 for knocking someone out. Whereas if you match late reg, everyone's all of a sudden in for a minimum of £15. There's all of a sudden a £7.50 on a head. So I don't think you're losing as much of the prize pool as you would match late reg in a normal one. but I don't personally tend to have. It's 5, 6, 7 bullets. I'm a bit like you. Maybe I might always buy in and add and do a double rebuy thing, and I might do that one more time, depending on the table and how many tables I've got. But I won't. If I've busted twice, it's very very rare that I'll do a double again. So a bit of everything, Reg. Not a great answer, really.
Yeah, no. Well, I I actually find the shit show. I did the max late reg thing on the shit show last night, and then didn't even make the add-on because I thought I got the timing right, and I think I'd like won one pot, then lost an all in. I was like, Reg, what are you even doing this shit show? So I rigged at 10:15. And I didn't even make the fucking add-on because I just busted and I was like, fuck it, Reg. We're not doing this again. Just have a bit of fucking self-respect, man. But there you go. But that is pretty impressive to almost max late reg the shit show and still not make the add-ons. I thought it was quite the feat, to be honest. No, the reason I asked is because quite often you see players like, I need to finish fourth in this to break even. And I'm like, well...
Yeah, Camel's good for that. Camel's good at putting... He's a good lad, Camel is. He puts 50 quid into the prize pool of this on his own.
And I get that, like, every time you're presented with a chance to rebuy, you've got to take a decision. Is it still profitable to me in this tournament? You've got to forget you're in for the 11 or the 22 or whatever.
Yeah.
And is this next 11 or this next 10 or whatever it is it costs you to rebuy? Am I still getting value on that? I get that, but my mental game is not strong enough for that. If I fucking I was in some for like 4 bullets, and then a min cash was like still nowhere near covering what I'd put in, that would hurt me. So I just tend to just buy in, play them like a freeze out, and if I get knocked out before the rebuy period ends, I just get knocked out. Right, it's not to be this one, and move on. Unless I get knocked out on the first or second level, when they're still like pretty deep and there's still like plenty of fishing. So yeah, I just wonder what your rebuy strategy was.
There's three main factors in this order: table count at the time, the table itself, like this table, I'd be happy to rebuy, and how many bounties have I taken already? If I've already got 2 or 3 in the bag and I've covered a buy-in or whatever, then I'm happy to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Go at it again. Those are sort of the 3 in those order, but yeah, sometimes I don't even bother playing these because. If you go deep in this and you go deep in the summer, they're just all in or folds, and it's just pretty boring.
Is that not how most tournaments? I mean, that feels like most tournaments fucking are to me.
Sometimes, man, not all the time, but it's sometimes.
I've done all right lately in tournaments. Just through variance. I'm not saying I'm a bad player or anything, but just it's how tournaments work. Sometimes you have a bit of heat, and I've done okay lately. And there aren't many. Yeah. Tournaments on Sky where you get to a final table and the average stack's more than 20 bigs, whether that's like the mid-X, the mega stack, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know if it's just because when I've got to the fucking final tables or that got quite far in, it feels like the bubble period on Sky really fucks tournaments up because quite often you can get some relatively long bubbles. And by bubble, I mean like maybe 5 from the money when everyone's tightening right up. Then you got the hand for hand. I mean, I've been through bubbles where it took like 20 odd minutes and you skipped through 3 fucking levels.
Longer than that, so it can be longer.
And then you get to the final table where most of the money's shelled out and it's just a complete shit show. And it's like, why am I doing this? But then I know why I'm doing it because, without doubt, the softest games on Sky are the multi-table tournaments. The fish said to be avoiding the cash lobbies more than ever. There's been an influx in like nitty regs coming into the cash game. So that if I'm playing on Sky, just for table count alone, I need to put some tournaments in. It's just like I don't know which the best ones are to play. I mean, the mega stacks fucking AIDS most nights, but I'll play it because you start with a lot of chips.
Yeah, but there's still an advantage to be had for someone like you. Like if this was the final table, you're going to know your shoving ranges a lot more than Wilson and your calling ranges. You can still chip up nicely without seeing cards, and you can see who if this is his biggest ever cash, whatever. You're going to know. Like you're going to give the advantage of not really caring if you come 6th or 1st. I know. I don't necessarily completely agree that it's always just all in a fold, but obviously there is a lot to. There's not much to it later on, which is a shame. But then I don't. I think like I have a basic understanding of shoving ranges from spins and calling ranges, but it doesn't bother me so much. I still find a little edge against enough people that I can make some money,
Yeah, and
even
then
at that point of the tournament.
and it's always fun having the deep run, isn't it? As well, it's always if I had a session at Cash where in the night I had a heater and I won 10 buy-ins, so I won like 200 to 300 quid. I'd be pleased about it, but yeah. When I won a mid-X for like 280, I was fucking chuffed to bits. I couldn't wait to run off to Facebook with the screenshot. Same
Well,
money.
when you won that main, mate. I mean,
Yeah, that was
what
fucking
feeling was it when you were
Oh,
taking
that was
four
brilliant.
figures?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely fucking brilliant. And it's a lot of fun, but there's an awful lot of fucking pain as well. Well, pain's the wrong word, but frustration. There's an awful lot of frustration when it comes with tournaments. But I mean, I started out as a tournament player years ago, and then whatever, don't go into a potted history now because we've already been 45 minutes and we've got at least another 45 to fucking go. So yeah, the tournaments are fun. They're just not fun if they end up too fucking crapshooty, which they tend to on Sky. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do to fix it because I'm not well enough experienced, but it feels like there's something could be done. Maybe like the Mega Stack, for example, it starts off 500 bigs deep. Then by 11 o'clock, the average stack's 25 big blinds. And it feels like, could we have a tournament where you don't start off quite as deep, but either the slightly longer blind levels or the increments aren't as fucking harsh? And quite often on Sky, they're like, you can go like 1, 2, 150, 2, 4, 3.
yeah, but can I just say, I made this point on Phil Baker's stream when he won the 17 grand. If you watch it back, a lot of his final table, the average set was 20 bigs, and I was sat there thinking, this ain't much. This is similar to a Sky. Like 20 bigs is fuck all, and you've been paying for 54 grand.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Well, they've got to get tournaments finished, haven't you? You've got to keep putting the blinds up to get them finished. It feels to me on Sky like just like once you get past the first 3 or 4 levels, there's not a lot of, unless you've chipped up, there's not a lot of wiggle room. You kind of get 2 or 3 levels to play some deeper stacked poker, and then you kind of play in one. That's how it feels. But maybe that's just because I'm a bad tournament player. Maybe there is a lot more depth. I mean, I've noticed some relatively successful players that are doing a lot more open limping now on Sky, and I'm presuming that's just to try and keep the SPR more favourable for the more skilled player post flop. I noticed Sky Flyer, for example, who I know gets a lot of stick, but they have good results. They've started. When I won the mid-X the other week, they were just limping buttons routinely. Which was nice for me because it was on my button to my big blind, so I wasn't getting stolen from. So I was quite a fan of it, I'm not sure he was doing it well or she, but they were doing it at least. And I think there's things you can do to like maybe give the games a bit more play. I don't fucking know. Anyway,
no, I don't disagree.
Let's move on. So I decided just to call here because I didn't want to rip against someone who's been quite limp heavy. You eventually just min raised under the gun. This hand's pretty standard from here on in, I think.
Yeah. I'd probably that concerns me a little bit because usually min bet pot is the fucking nuts, and which feels like this might be coming here. But I'd be calling at the moment.
I agree. I had exactly the same thought.
Or just min bet pot. Now I'm fucking. I'm assuming he's now got. He's not fold. I'm jamming here, assuming to see Ace King, Ace Jack, and then a couple of hands that we're losing to. Even pocket aces if possible, jacks. But
I almost clicked it back here. I almost clicked it back.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Then you wouldn't like that. Why wouldn't you like that?
No,
Why wouldn't you like the click back?
Just make you fuck. It's because you're just turning your hand. I mean, I suppose there's not that much difference, but I just think it makes it look more obvious that you just.
Yeah, sometimes I do like to just fuck about for no good reason. There's no reason to click it back there other than fun. But yeah, we need to try and make.
I don't think it changes the result. I still think the money goes in. I just green tag and go, what a fucking useless shit cunt face up knobhead.
Yeah, well, he just had that.
I'm not going to.
And that was standard, GG £5 rebuy. We're back to a cash. We'll skip to this one very quickly because when I was
who Who knew a min-bet pot was fucking strong, eh?
Well,
Fucking
not
hell.
not me. I mean, that's why I just called. I thought, let's keep all his bluffs in. No, the minute he come down, like say, his min raise and his min bet, then he pots. Your read's perfect, like min bet, then size up. It's always the nuts when weak players do it. But we had top two. I think if that
You've got
turn
no,
wasn't
you've
a
nothing you
queen
can do.
and he potted the turn, I think I could have got away from the hand. Genuinely, if that turn's just doesn't improve me and he upsizes to pot, I honestly think I would have just folded and not given a fuck. But obviously, when you turn two pair, it's just too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to go this hand. When I was putting it on the video, it's a bit, but it's not as interesting as I first thought when I put it on my little notes to look at again. I guess the only decision here is like right now. I mean, obviously, we don't give a fuck about the guy who's donked. But
No, but how much have they got there? Is that a tenner?
yeah, that's
Is
what I
it?
was looking at.
Tenner.
Yeah. So it's just a
That's what I
sizing.
mean, isn't it?
It's just like a sizing on the flop. Do we just go all in now? Do we just
Uh,
call and not give a fuck if the turn's a diamond because we've got the ace of diamonds? Do we just raise what it looks like I'm going to do? Just raise smallish. It's just a flop question, really, of like what would you do facing this action? Obviously, folding's
I
not an
just
option, but what's the rest?
No, yeah, I just put it in with Shano having £3. Obviously, that's going in anyway. Um, yeah, it just goes in. It just goes in here for me.
But do you? Yeah, but by putting it in, my question here is by putting it in because it's obvious. Well, it's not obvious, but very good chance we're just way ahead of like tight, whatever the Titler. So by putting it in, do we not just like
Yeah,
miss loads of value against him because he's just going to
yeah,
find some pretty easy folds?
but if you just call or raise here, say you say the 145 plus the 273 gets in from Shano. So Tyler's put another. So he's got £8 left in his stack, and he's got all any draw and a two of hearts comes and you bet. He's gonna. I think you just get the lot now with the same draw. Whereas you might, if a complete brick comes on a turn, he might keep the £8 back. And that's just the way I see it. Could be completely bollocks.
Yeah, I wouldn't choose. It's fucked up by this guy's stack size, really.
Yeah, but I think it's more if he's got a draw as well. I believe he's more inclined to just get it in with the extra money in there anyway as well with Shano. Whereas if he puts another 270 in on top of his 145 and it comes a two of hearts and four clubs whatever, you're going to bet and then he can like now I've got. I just think he's going to pay a lot now with the extra money in there with his draws now. We can just get it in. And he might. I mean, he can still have worse jacks as well, but he's just.
Yeah, I think this is. I think I agree with you. Just jamming. I think this is where sometimes I do unnecessary things. I basically just put half his stack in with this raise, and I think jam's virtually the same fucking thing, isn't it? So, yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, now this has come, we might not even get folds. I mean, he donks. Obviously, we're never folding, and he just has that. So maybe.
But yeah, like you say, if he wasn't a moron, he can now fold. I mean, he would have folded the flop anyway. Actually, he probably wouldn't have done.
No, maybe not. He's got like 2 overs, gut shot, and backdoor. It looks like he would have just called a jam. Like I said, this hand wasn't super interesting, other than like it's weird stack depths for cash games. But it does go to show like quite often I look at the Sky lobbies and there'll be 6 tables of 20 and L, 4 tables of 30, and there'll be a little collection of maybe 8 regs all battling each other. And I'll sit and start tables, and then I'll get games like this, and they never fucking join. They'll be full, and eventually then the fish will bust, and then the regs will be on the wait list. And I'm just like, I don't want to slag the Sky regs off because, again, I don't want to fall out with Sky and get told to fuck off again. But it seems like a lot of them, they're not bad at poker in terms of like they've learned how to play, but they've got no idea how to fucking win. I don't think on Sky sometimes, because the amount of times I see them all just battling the fuck out of each other, grinding themselves into the ground day in, day out, probably for more hours than I play. And I'm like, how much money you guys actually fucking make? Yeah, you're getting your priority payment at the end of the fucking month, but is that just topping your fucking stack back up? Because I can't imagine many of them have good win rates because they're just all battering the fucking shit out of each other. And we'll know they all are. There's probably maybe a pool of 10 to 12 of them, and very rarely do you see 2 of them with 4 fish. It's normally 4 of them, and then maybe 2 fish, or maybe 5 of them and just 1 fish. And I think like I'd just love to get hold of some of them and say, what are you fucking doing? You're actually quite good at poker. You're not unreasonable. You're tight. You're solid. You're not a fucking crusher. You're not a wizard. But you know what you're doing. But you don't know how to fucking win because you're just constantly playing at shit tables. It's fucking bonkers. Because I just sit here playing less tables than them. And I imagine that my volume's 1/3 of theirs. But I'd also imagine that my win rate's fucking 3 times theirs. So maybe over the course of the month they make slightly more money because they get the rate back too. But fuck me, they're working hard for it. Certainly working a lot harder than this fat lazy cunt does anyway. This is probably the most fun hand of the session, and it's someone who we both know. It's a big fat fish, obviously very good player, without question, way better at me, especially at tournaments. Cash, I know isn't in play, but tournaments is definitely way better than me. But he fucking 3-bets me like he hates my guts, you know. I mean, I know he doesn't because we've chatted plenty of times, we're friendly, so there's no thing, there's no like. I don't think there's like one shred of malice. It certainly isn't from me to him, and I know there isn't from him to me. But he 3-bets me like I'm his stepdad who used to beat him up. You know, it's like he fucking despises every bone in my body. I just don't know how to fucking respond to it. So this hand might be a complete clusterfuck.
He clearly targets for shit rags because he constantly 3-bets me as well.
He just never stops. He never stops fucking 3-betting me. And obviously he's going to do it again here. I mean, is this just a fucking fold? This is like the 7:30 23s out. I mean, I don't know if this is even just a plain fucking fold now because we're not that deep. But he 3-bets me so wide, and like this hand just feels like I have to defend it because he 3-bets me. I don't know the number, but I'm guessing it's going to be upwards of 15% that this guy 3-bets.
The thing is, with that in mind, like I don't know if this is. I don't know what this sort of. I don't know if this is a candidate, but sometimes I just take a stand, Reg, and go, no, I'm not having it, and I'll just jam here.
Well, I did this before this hand. I didn't bother putting it in this video because it was pretty shit. But I think I was maybe 2 orbits earlier. The guy was cut off and he was small blind, and I opened 10-8 suited, and he 3-bet me, and I just exactly what you said, and I chose a terrible hand to do it, like fuck you, and I just ripped the 10-8 suited. Unfortunately, you folded. And I think that I don't
think it's advisable in this particular spot because I think what is it? You'd have put 6. It'd only be 48 to call into an 8k pot. He's probably getting the odds to call anyway. But if we were a bit deeper, I think I'd be telling him to fuck off. And, not all the time, but sometimes light it would induce me to go. No, I'm not. You've got to take a stand. I'm not going to just keep being pushed.
Of course, yeah. But he's good. As you said earlier, like we're going to know our range is better than certain people when we get to final tables. With unquestionably, Big Fat Fish knows his ranges in these spots a million times better than I do. The guy plays tons of double or nothings. He's just an expert in this at this stack depth and at this stage of tournaments in terms of like, right, what do a shove with, what do a call with, etc. He's light years ahead of me, so I'm going to lose out in that game. But I agree with you. You've got to take a stand with someone, and if you don't know what to take a stand with, I guess the pretty stuff's as good as anything. I guess, but I don't fucking know.
I mean, we don't cover him, so it makes calling less appealing. If we do call, what have we got? We've got 24 bigs left, assuming we put no more money in the pot. I don't know if it's too tight to just raise fold of a button on his hand. Yeah, if my stack was 67 or 77, this might be a candidate to jam. I think I don't know, Reg. I feel like it's just. I'm really unsure, mate. I feel like I want to say cool to a flop, but every time, you know what, he's got the incredible knack of constantly free betting, and then when you do fucking fight back, he turns over the goods every fucking time.
Yeah, he's a good player, and that's what good players do, don't they? They just confuse you, they befuddle you, and then they run off with your fucking satchel. And I have no objection to that. The guy's puts more effort into the game than I do. And he deserves his fucking success. I just wish he'd fucking... If you do end up ever watching this Big Fat Fish, just fuck off and stop 3-betting me so much.
Yeah, fuck off.
Just be nice. Yeah, fuck off. Just be nice. Be nice, you fucking wanker. So anyway...
I think it's a bit too tight to fold up. I think you see a flop.
I don't think it's good to call, but I did. And then that happens, and I was like, boom, have that motherfucker.
Yeah, but we've still got 24 bigs, Reg, like now. It is... the stack to pot ratio is not great, but it's not like we've got 14 bigs. You know, it's still some play. I
So,
don't mind the call, but I think if we're just going to raise fold every time, if that's what we sort of has to fish, we might as well just fold.
well, I overthought to his stream. I know, and he knows I do, which is probably why he does it so much. You know, I don't fight back or defend anywhere near as much as I should, because
Yeah.
it's just because I'm a fucking nit basically, and I am aware that he's better than me. And even if we take flops, most of the time he's just gonna fucking own me, unless we get like we have here with flop Ginny, and obviously it's whatever he's got, he's probably fucked. So what he checks here now, which I was surprised at
Yeah.
because on this
Yeah,
board
me too.
I would expect him to see bet small with an incredibly high frequency, but maybe because I fold so much, he just gives up bluffing against me when I do call. Maybe he's just like, right, well, this fucking fat nit's finally got something, so let's not bluff, because he's going to have a lot of air in his range here because he does three betters so often. So maybe against me, he's just like, well, right, the guy's finally took a stand, or he's put chips in the pot. I'm just not going to try and bluff the guy. So my read was he has nothing, so therefore, what do we do against his
It's
nothing?
slam dunk. It's a slam dunk check. Like, it's so dry. We've got to. We're yeah. We've got to give him some rope.
Well, I kind of agree with you, and I did something that I don't know. I've seen good players do this and just bet 10% pot. And this is what I was talking about earlier. When I've been trying to, not so much in tuna in cash, I've been trying to like use strategies that I don't understand, and I've just seen better players than me use 10% pot, and I was like, oh, I'll do that then. When there's no logic to it other than that. That's literally my reason for doing this. Is I've seen good players bet 10% pot, and that's what I'm going to fucking do. I didn't think I'd induce spew from him because I think he's too good for that.
No,
So I don't know why I've done
that's
this. It's fucking. I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying
no, no, no.
this is how my mind works. I don't know how to approach this, but yeah, we could just check.
I'd prefer to do that against a green tag. Like I think fish might fall for the trap, whereas I think occasionally a good player will get out of line, but I think big fat fish will probably see this for what it is, or someone in that ilk anyway. Like obviously the better players are just gonna. I don't mind it if it was against a green, give him every chance to do something silly, but we'll see what he does. I must admit, I've never seen you bet 10%.
No, it's just me trying to do something that I've absolutely zero understanding of.
What I will say is like, I don't think he can. There's hardly any hands he can fold for that price, but I think it now stops us getting some value or getting some continued of air now on future streets. It's one of the reasons why I don't like it against a good player.
I liked it when this turn came down because I think he can have an awful lot of ace X in his hand.
But I just don't think you're betting 10% with a king.
No. I'm not saying I like I like to have done it now because we've reached a turn, and I think he has maybe now improved on this turn. I'm not saying I like the flop bet at all. I'm just saying I like the situation as we now stand because now I think we've got a chance of stacking him because he can have some ace X.
I don't. Well, yeah, okay. I think even if he had ace X here, he'd be a little bit wary now. Personally, I mean, it's not. It wouldn't be difficult to stack because of the stack size anyway. But if I had an ace, I wouldn't be living life here. But not after I see a 10% Reggie bet for the first time in my life. And I'm like, what the fuck is? Like, this is 3-9. This is 3 nines or 5 high. Like,
right.
Like this is all it is. It's like,
You are so fucking right. Oh fuck me! I thought I was being cute, and it's just face up to fuck, isn't it? Never mind.
well, it can be bollocks. It can be bollocks, but it's never. It's just one or the other now. There's nothing in between.
Yeah, you're so fucking right. What a cunt I am. So, anyways, what size now, sir?
Well, if we're assuming he's got a large number of aces in his range, and even some kings, I think I prefer the small bet again. I mean, because we don't have to bet bigger to get stacks on the river. So maybe 15, 20% to continue the cunt line.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'll go 800, which is like about 25%, isn't it? Something like that. Just continue being face up cunt, basically, yeah.
But does he want to, like you say, if he's turning the ace, can he fold for that? He's getting a zillion to one, and now we've set up a nice river jam. But
Yeah.
I don't know, or do we jam, or do we just continue? Do we do three streets of cunt and just go tiny?
No, I think jamming's like the only bet size now. I think, but yeah, my line's face up, and obviously we're going to end up winning this hand, but. I did think of it. Look, I went for I almost went cunt size. I was like, no, that's just ridiculous.
I'd like a bit. Oh, you got more. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to like show him up here by like, because I mean, like I said, I do like the guy. He's always been friendly, and when we've done talk and grinds, he's always chatty away. He always wishes me luck when we're at final tables together. So I'm genuinely not trying to show him up. This is much more showing myself up, I think, in terms of like how little I understand how to play against good players than it is him. I mean, I'm surprised he's 3-bet that hand pre, but maybe he's just like, he knows I fold so much that he's just entitled to do that, I think from his perspective, I don't like his 3-bet. But if he knows that I massively overfold to him, then I guess he could just 3-bet me with absolute fucking relentlessly like he does do. Because most of the time, he's just printing money from his 3-bet against me. Maybe he should fold the river, I don't know. But he's chopping against all my ace X's.
I was going to say, yeah, it's a shit run out really for him. Like, it's a shit bet size, and the board is just aids. Like you say, yeah. I don't know if you're doing that with ace queen, trying to. I mean, doing it with ace queen there would be perfectly legitimate to try and fold out the shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty shit.
But
I think you've played it quite nicely in the end, Reg. You've got a lot.
To pay him a compliment and to spoil future hands in the video, even though now I've got 3 times his chips, he still manages to outlast me. So that shows how good a player he is. He's just dumped a full stack on me, and he still manages to significantly outlast me because he's just better than me. So please, if you do watch that Big Fat Fish, that wasn't meant to show you up in any shape or form. That wasn't the reason for showing that hand at all. I don't want him to be salty about it because it wasn't meant to be like, look at me owning Big Fat Fish. It was that hand's in because look at me, I have no idea what I'm fucking doing against better players, which he clearly is.
Big Fat Fish ever watches this, the next time that I do a 10% flop bet, I will never have it.
Yeah, and I always will, just for the record. I butchered this one because this is just a slam dunk.
I was going to say, how have you fucked this? It's just a jam, right? You're going to get cute.
No, I don't actually. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I do that. I mean, it should just be a jam.
What a dirty face bastard you are.
I know, because you know why, though? Because obviously I know Kiki is not folding, but I want the tank in there too. And I think we know the tank. I mean, personally, he's always been nice with me. I know he gets a bit of jip for being a nit. I'd take nit as a compliment. But I know the tank's probably not calling a jam, but I was just trying to price the tank in too. Is this just a fuck up, basically? Is this me just being shit? Do you ever try and just do this to rope the tank in or not? Or do you just
I don't think it alters too much. He's got 18 bigs. The fact that he's put money in would make. Oh, and also, Reg, I personally I don't like to do this in bounties, because if I had a marginal hand here, my chips would be going into ISO the bounty. So I don't want to. I would always do that with unless I had a specific note on a player, like where I would just use the same size to try and ISO for bounties. So this just, I find when in my experience, a size like this rather than a jam is obviously a better hand. Because you wouldn't do this with, I don't know, Queen 9 of Spades or something, where you're on a punt for a bounty here. I mean, it's slightly different because it's not as if I mean, I'll be shocked if he folds, but it's not as if Kiki has already jammed. He might still fold it, and then, but the bounty's not actually on the line yet. But I just prefer getting it in. But that's just me.
No, I agree. I'm a face up shit cunt. Tank
and also, I guess the tank, we know the tank's nitty anyway, like the tanks, I would assume that will send alarm bells more to him, then
Is there
not. But
any?
I could be wrong.
Is there any just flat in there to like hope the tank hits something?
Yeah.
And then
I much prefer flat. I much prefer flat than that. But it's dangerous. Like Kiki had, what did he have? 2,500 left if you flat.
something like that, 25, 27, something. Yeah.
I don't like it. If he was a bit shorter, then yeah, I can definitely get behind that. But with him having 9 or 10 bigs, he can still fold if he whiffs, and then it's just a bit more awkward. So I would still jam with his stack. But if you shave 3 or 4 bigs off it, then I like it much better.
Yeah, I think like if I want to try and trap the tank, which is what I was trying to do, I think just flatten's better. I think jamming's the play. But if we are, my intention there was just let's just try and get the tank in two. And I think if I want to do
That was
that,
big
then
fat
just
fish.
calling's the way.
Yeah, that was big fat fish as well. And say it was big fat fish where the tank was. Definitely be more incentivised to flat rather than because obviously we know he's an aggressive player. He's more aggressive than the tank anyway. Like it's not often because he's a very very good player.
Yeah, but I don't think big fat fish
know.
would flat out the small blind versus that stack open. I think he's just going to like jam to try and ISO to get me out and just jam and run it against him.
Yeah, no, that's a fair argument.
Yeah, maybe it's just a fucking jam and shut the fuck up, Reg. Maybe I was just being too greedy. Anyways, never mind.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, but oh fucking hell. I'm like fucking Reg.
Yeah, so again, that isn't like, oh, look at me, I've had my aces cracked. It was very much just, what's the best play to try and get the tank in there? Do we flat or do we not care about getting the tank in? And do we just jam to ISO for the bounty? That was my question from there. Should I even be worried about keeping the tank in the pot? Or should our priority just be get the money in against the other guy to like isolate for the bounty?
Also, you were closing the action, weren't you? So, like, closing the action, I don't like it. If we're not closing the action, then yeah, I would definitely have aces of kings in those spots where the bounties, where it looks like there's going to be a bounty on the line, for sure. But probably not closing the action, I'll probably just get it in.
Excellent stuff. Don't actually remember this hand. What's this? This is the mega stack.
Mega stack.
So yeah. ISO be the. Oh, you don't like the size?
Big. Well, I suppose it's about much difference. It's a bit large. I'd have gone 8, but I would have saved a big blind on this hand. Not. I would have kept a big blind back. Sorry.
So are we see betting here? We obviously, you can see our equity, the back doors, just a 2 overs. Or are we, given that this is the mega stack and green tag players are quite passive, are we happy just to try to see a free turn here? Or are we having a stab? What basically, like, do we think he's probably not folding any pairs. If he's limp call with any kind of unimproved pocket pair, do we think they're going to fold if we bet, say, 1,200 plus here? Because I wouldn't, if I was going to bluff it, I wouldn't use a small size against a fish who's limp called under the gun. If I'm going to bet, it's going to be on the larger size. But does it make a difference between betting 600 and 1,200 in terms of hands he will or won't fold? I guess.
I don't. I think I would check. I think he will be weighted to a lot of pocket pairs and not the strong ones either. Probably 8s, 2s through to 8s. And on this board, I don't see him folding to 1 bet just yet.
I agree.
So I'd probably check. And there's loads of turns that we can then barrel turn, barrel river potentially, like that are going to make his 2s to 8s if he has got their specific hands. But he can also still be dominated, like limping in. What the fuck is that? This bothers me so much because it's just you just feel like you're getting absolutely owned by a shit cunt because you're not. You have to call. Like, what can you do here? I mean, actually, my rule as a rule against fish, if I see a min bet, I won't raise nearly all the time. And I do it with my strong hands and my shit hands, just because it just fold so often. But I don't mind the call, especially with a drilling ace.
So now, are you, given he's bet the flop, he's already just lead. Sorry, given he only min bet the flop, he's already just fuck you. I'm leading this turn because maybe you don't know how to bet size properly, or is it always just checking again?
No, I think I know I'm flip flopping a little bit, but I guess he either has a pocket pair or he has some sort of ace X hand. So I'm checking to let him continue with it because he can value bet worse aces now in a spot. And I think if we lead, we don't like if he raises, it's pretty shit. And then also, I think it's difficult depending on the river card to get another street of value on the river. What's he got? Half pot. Yeah, just cool. Wow.
Now, I'm not happy with the speed. I'm forever bollocking par. Sometimes I have a chat with Don.
Par's dreadful. Par's dreadful for fucking for just mashing buttons in half a second.
Look at me though on this hand. I mean, I've basically rivered gin, and I don't even consider fucking betting. I mean, I've checked within 3 or 4, and this makes me a hypocrite because I'm going to be having a chat with Don later and helping a bit with his cash game. When I finish doing this video, I'm going to have a chat with him for a bit, and I'm forever bollocking him for acting too fast. And then we just had like a pretty significant river card, and maybe I'm still checking this anyway, but I don't think I should. I think I should take more time here, and if I did, I would have found a bet. I think because I think quite often fish are just going to check back here when we have the best hand and bet when we don't have the best hand. I think I made a. I mean, I'm going broke, whatever now. If I bet and he shoves, we just call. If I check and he bets, I'm just going to call now, or maybe even jam, depending on his size. But I'm really not happy with how quick I checked there. I think this river deserves a lot more thought than just auto checking. This is pretty shit from me, just on the speed that I took. I'm not happy.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I do in game. I'm not sure what I do in game because it sucks now to get ace X check back. But fair enough. I was gonna say maybe I would lead, but maybe I wouldn't be. If I've got like 6 tables on the go, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just not give it much thought. Yeah, just check it.
I only 4 table when I play on Sky usually, so that I can't use that as an excuse. And
it's pretty grim, isn't it? But I mean, I'm not fault. Yeah, wow,
it's just how it is. I mean, and again, same read you said earlier. Flops like fish min bet. It's just a fucking strong hand a lot. But
the thing is,
equally,
mate,
it's not because
have you noticed he's bet 10% on the flop with a strong hand like 3 nines, like someone did a minute ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's next level shit. I mean, maybe this guy's incorrectly tagged. Maybe he should have my wizard tag. Who knows? But it's difficult because until you know your fish, you don't know. Because how many times have we've seen it ourselves when we're playing, but you see it on streams, especially Juice, because he attacks his min bets a lot. And just falls like, oh, what a surprise, someone's min bet and folded, blah, blah, blah. So you've got to know your fucking fish, I guess. I mean, I think I probably snap closed this table, which is a mistake because I should have put a note on this guy.
Should have tagged him, yeah. Should have noted him, yeah.
So I'm disappointed that. Usually when I leave tournaments, I never give it the good game, good luck because I'm just thinking, fuck off, you cunt. And I don't want to be a salty cunt, so I instantly just close the fucking. I don't even wait for the bit to come up to tell me how much I've won if I've got any money. I just fucking close it because I'm like dickheads. But this is a mistake because this is absolutely noteworthy that he just. I mean, it's important to know the guys who min bet fold and the guys who min bet when they're strong. And I've now 100%. Lost that note because I won't recognise this guy next time, and it's disappointing. And Sky is such a shit client; you can't go back and find them and just like put notes on outside of game time. So I'm annoyed with myself that I didn't get the note here because that's an important. As you can see, how quick I close the fucking table. That's an important note to have. This is potentially the funniest hand of the night. There's chat after this. I'm not going to show it in the video because it takes too fucking long. But it's the music. I mentioned this hand in the Discord last night because our friend. Thank you. You just messaged me to yes. I shall.
There you go. You can't forget it now.
Yeah, I wonder. I thought, fuck, has my microphone gone off or something? He's messaging me because of that. So yeah, this hand we'll go through it quite quickly because I think it's pretty straightforward. But I want to discuss our opponents and what makes Sky so good at the end. I mean, it's super standard call.
Yeah.
Turn 2 pair. Check again. Again, I'm not happy. Look at the fucking how quick a check. Fair enough. It's a chess spot. I'm going to check pretty much 100% of the time, but it doesn't mean to say you have to do it within a fucking nanosecond, does it?
No.
I mean, I'm always I'm never betting. I'm never having a lead on this turn. But,
No, it's not. It's not as quick as you might have thought. It's a few seconds.
Yeah, it's not happy with myself. That makes me a fucking hypocrite. Anyway, he checks back. We river the nuts, or virtually nuts, and we make a bet. He calls.
I like an overbet as well.
You like an overbet, right? Okay.
Yeah, we can rep the busted flush draw now, can't we? As well. Assuming he's probably got an ace a lot of the time. You see betting to multiple players on the flop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for an overbet. Personally.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. Actually, no, I didn't consider it at the time because I acted too fucking quickly, like a cunt. But yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. He goes deep into the tank. Finally calls and wins, and then he just went off on this like tirade in the chat. First of all, he bollocked me. How'd you call the flop? Like, well, yeah, got a pair and a flush draw, mate. Fucking hell, you wouldn't get me off that with a fucking welding torch. And then he bollocked me for how do you call a turn when he didn't even bet the fucking turn. So I'm like, what do you want me to do, mate? Fold to your fucking check. He's like going off at me, and to me, I prescribe to the Barry Greenstein thing. If you win the hand, let the fish win the argument, you know. So I wasn't gonna, I was never going to tell him how badly he had ace king of clubs for the record.
Wow.
I went back and
How's he not found a bet on the turn?
Yeah, exactly.
How's he not found a bet on the turn?
So if you win the hand, you let them win the argument. And I completely, I mean, even if I don't win the hand, I still let the fish win the argument because I'm not one that's going to like you see some of the Collabo will be a prime example. I'm not going to tell people what they did wrong. I mean, A, they don't want to hear it. B, it makes you a cunt. So he bollocked me for like not for calling the turn when I didn't bet. And then he said, anyway, nice 3-outer on the river. And I didn't correct him on that, but I was like, well, actually, I had the best hand on the turn. You know, actually, if I didn't have the best hand on the turn, I had more than 3 outs. And the guy was just going off. And eventually he's admitted, yeah, fair enough, you know, nothing was wrong there. But his chat was really amusing because he was clearly tilted out of his brains, but he misremembered every part of the fucking hand. I was like, yeah, that's why we love Sky, you know, because...
Josh Harry, if you're watching this, mate, you've got the last laugh because Reggie's left a 5 on the table there, I reckon.
I reckon I probably probably more than the 5. Probably more. Or is that all we had left?
Oh, no, yeah, 30 quid. I reckon you can bet almost. What the pot was 7, wasn't it? You could bet 10 or 12 there, I think.
Yeah.
Especially, this is never folding an ace, I don't think. And with the hearts, how many hearts does he have in his hand? Admittedly, he's probably not thinking, oh, I haven't got any. I'm not blocking flush draws or whatever. But yeah,
I'm surprised
that
a recreational player didn't bomb that turn. You know.
Yeah, just a raw flush draw, like not nothing.
He just didn't bomb. He just didn't bomb it, and you know, never mind. Yeah, but I just thought the chat was amusing. I was quite amused by his like misremembering and then bollocking me for stuff I didn't actually fucking do. This is a very very shitty. This is like I think this hand and one more hand. So we're deep in the mini here. I think we're like 10 off the money at this point. I played with this guy from the start. He's been very, very limp happy. We've got kind of like a mediocre stack. I never know. Is this a call for the bounty or is it a fold to protect what is kind of not a great stack? Because if we call this and lose, then we're going to go from being maybe 20th.
I would be... Yeah. How many do you reckon are left here? Like 50?
Not even that. There's less than... I think there's around... 30 paid and like 41 left, something like that, and we were about 20th. So we can cruise into the money if we want with this stack, and this is where I have a problem, because if this was say a 33 main, I would be very much focused on now. Let's just limp into the fucking money, because it's a £5 mini. I don't give a fuck about making the money, but that's not the correct attitude to have in tournaments. You know, you can't make different decisions based on the buy-in and how much you're asked about min cashing. You've still just got to make the correct decisions at all times, haven't you? Imagine this was like the Sunday major. I would fold this in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah, I'd fold in a major. But if this was a mini, the main, or the big weekend bounce center, this is just a call all day. For me, I'm just always. We would be around average stack. I would imagine 25 bigs. No, not over 25 bigs. Probably around average. I want to win the tournament. I'm not interested in winning 30p profit from a mini, or even like in the main, like £3. No, the mini cash is like not much more than the buy-in, and it's a bounty. I don't think this is even a debate. I think this is just a cool.
Yeah, I think, and obviously I'm going to lose, otherwise it wouldn't be in here. I just wasn't sure, like this, like just 10 off the money, if like putting over half your stack in with King High was like a good play or not. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but you need. I put for my. I want to win. I need to get a stack. What's the worst? The worst case scenario is we're probably going to have what 30% worst case, unless he's got kings or queens, and that's unlikely. So I just getting it in. Just run a bit better.
No, try to. And this is going to be the last hand of the video. Same guy, and this I don't know if this is a mistake. Should we be waiting for an unopened pot to be jamming 7 bigs, or is it okay to jam Queen Jack? This guy's been limping a lot, you know. I mean, Queen Jack's not going to be great against his get it in range, but it's not going to be like miles behind. But should I be waiting for a spot to? I think we're gonna before I do what we're gonna do. I think I do look at like the game situation, and we are.
Yeah.
I think we're 38 or 38 at this point. I think. Well, let's just wait for it to come up.
Has he been regularly limp folding, or have we not been seeing that?
I don't expect him to be doing an awful lot of limp folding. It's just like I think. Let's go back. We're 38. I think we're going to check. We're 38 or 38. And I wasn't expecting him to fold. Put it that way. Yeah, we were 38 or 38. So if you're not expecting him to fold, does this make this a pretty shitty jam?
It depends, because like I see that a lot of my notes are limp folds a lot, or whatever, or just or so. The thing is, Reg, you've got 7 bigs. You're not even got 7 bigs. The blind's coming around to you in two hands. You're 8. It's not like you're 2 or 3 off the money. It's still 8. It's still difficult for you to get into money at this stage without playing a hand. I don't think it's. I don't think there's anything wrong with this.
No, I just want sure. Is it wait for a better spot where? Because obviously we're going to make. You know.
When the blinds go first, we'll have 27.50. 5. I think there's probably an argument. There's probably a fair argument for both. But if I was in your shoes, I'd be ripping this in from under limp, because on the occasion he does fold, and it's still. We don't know this player. You know, it might be his only tournament of the night. You know, and does he? He might be now thinking, shit, I'm getting close to the money here, whereas you didn't give a fuck about it before.
Yeah.
Really, like. So he can still fold for me on occasions, but
I mean, I kind of thought this is where he's going to be a lot. You know, like I didn't think we were ever going to be, not ever, because obviously sometimes he can limp some strong stuff, I guess. But I thought when he calls, we're going to be in reasonable shape. And like you say, if he ever folds, I just want to
50% of his stack. And if he folds, like. Yeah. I
mean, obviously we're not going to get there, but that's not the part. Again, that's neither here nor there. It was just is that shove too ambitious? If we assume he's never folding, should we still jam Queen Jack? That's the question. Can I assume no fold equity? So if we assume no fold equity, is Queen Jack strong enough of 7 bigs to just ram over a fucking someone who's limping pretty wide? And I guess I decided it was, but whether it is or not, yeah, I don't know. But
I think you do have some fold equity against the fish, because just loads, just a lot of people will limp fold. Like I had an £11 bounty the other day, and I think I was with Toffee Apple, and I was getting like 4 big blind jams through this guy that had 80 bigs at one point. Like, it was just unbelievable. So it's. But that's by the by. I think there are occasions and there are players that will limp fold. And then on the times that happens, happy days.
Yeah,
like, I think it's fine.
I think I have like a small issue with tournaments, as in like these smaller ones. I'm not even sure I should bother registering them, because I have a hard time giving a fuck.
I'm exactly the same with a million, and that's snobbish of me to say, because I'm not a fucking baller.
No,
I can't get just. Yeah, I can't get interested in a mini. Like, I can't get nothing winds me up more. Not that it happens very often. Playing a mini for 3-4 hours, finishing 10th for a tenner.
Yeah.
That fucking just winds me up so much. just sometimes don't bother.
Yeah, I tried to ask in the Discord yesterday, but everyone ignored me because there were all a bunch of cunts and they were chatting about
They
fucking
really are.
rage
Yeah,
chats
they
like
really
the
are.
boring nerd fucking virgins they are. And I was because I'm going to be playing like most of my volume on Sky now and a bit on Unibet, and like I'm not going to get 4 decent cash tables, without fucking like sitting at empty tables for fucking ages. So I am going to start mixing tournaments in, but I don't want to be like massively tournament fucking heavy because there is money to be won at the cash games. So that's why I played that £5 rebuy last night for the first time in ages because I thought, is that a better tournament than some others? It's a £5 rebuy. There's probably plenty of splashing around. It probably makes more money than it almost certainly makes more money than the Mega Stack, and it's probably softer than the Mega Stack. And I was kind of thinking, do I just ditch the Mega Stack? Because when the Mega Stack gets 80 runners, I think there's plenty of value in it. When it gets 50 to 55 runners, I think there's very little value in it. I think you just get. I think it's a bad tournament. I think it's only a good tournament when it gets to like 70 to 80 runners, because then there's juice in it. When there's 50, there's probably 35 of them are regulars. Now I don't think all them regulars are much good, but they're still regulars, and they're not just fucking giving the money away. And so I played that 7:30-22 last night, which was fucking AIDS, to be honest with you. I was at one point
worse than the Mega Stack.
I was on a table with fucking I think it was Monty, Big Fat Fish, fucking Boo Boo the Bear. It was just an awful table. I was like, if this is a cash game, I'd fucking leave it. But I'm stuck here now. I'm in this tournament for 20 quid, and I'm stuck at a table. I'd fucking, I'd rather fucking be sticking pins in me fucking bollocks. So I just try to figure out which are the best tournaments to play. Because I seen Waller the other day saying that the 11s are generally shit, and they're going to be £11 buy-in, like 500 guaranteed, and there's going to be at least 30 regs in it. So what are the better value tournaments? If I'm going to play tournaments on Sky, what are the better value tournaments? Because I think the Mega Stack and that 7:30, they're not good value unless they completely crush the guarantee.
Well, it can be boring, but the main, mate, like you can. I think the way you play, there is enough fucking value in that main event for me. And I thought this long before you dipped your toe in and won one. I thought you should be in them from ages ago. They're not. They're but certainly the first few hours, they're not. It's a decent structure. You got plenty of blinds, and you very rare. Like you will, 100% in that main, you'll have more fucking green tags on your table than you do in the 22s. 100%. Obviously, and probably I think it's not very often. Yeah, I have more than one crusher on a main event table at any one time. Unless we're getting really deep, I'm talking. I think you can consider yourself unlucky if you've got 2 on the table within the first few hours. So I would always say to the main event. I said it to Swab a while ago when he was being a bankroll on it. I said getting the fucking main. Plenty of morons that play this main event.
Yeah, and like you're saying that, it's literally like resonating massively with me. The reason I don't play many mains is because I like to play the Mega Stack. I like to play the Mid-X, if I'm still can be asked playing. If poker hasn't pissed me off enough by midnight, I like finding the Mid-X because the Mid-X is like amazingly soft. It literally plays like a 2-pounder. It's
softest £22 in the world.
Unquestionably, yeah, without doubt, it's the softest tournament on Sky every single fucking night because not all the regs play.
I don't know why it gets slagged off. I don't know why Juicy Meg slags it off so much. It's just heaven. I love the Mid-X.
Yeah, it doesn't, even though it's like a turbo. It doesn't seem to get that much more crapshooty than the fucking some of the other ones do because the whole thing plays much faster. It's normally over by fucking 1:30. Quarter to 2 in the morning.
I said that to Juice. He slags it off and then he gets if he reluctantly gets him a shit show, whatever. But then he plays the £11 turbos post 11 o'clock and they're worse. They run worse with the Mid-X, but you can't see it. But
yeah. I think I get what's wrong. Well, I think if the Mid-X was at an earlier time, Juice would play it. I think at midnight, towards the end of his streams, he's just like, you know what, I've had enough for one night, and I can kind of empathise with that. But yeah, on his schedule, when he's up playing, if he's on his night hour schedule where he hasn't got up till mid-afternoon, late afternoon, or early evening. To me, it should be in every night because he'd have a fucking huge ROI in it because it's just such a massively soft tournament. But anyway, to digress, it's not so much of a bank.
No, I just want just before you move away from the schedule, like I completely agree with you. When in the centre of lockdown, when we had numbers were going through the roof, that mega stack is that was brilliant value when you had 80 to 100, sometimes 100
Yeah,
runners.
well, it was like the Shrimpy Invitational for a while, wasn't it? You were fucking
Yeah,
destroying
well, it
it.
used to be. We've gone off that now. I've fucking been shitting that for ages. Midex now, I'm averaging one FT in a Midex a week. But anyway, that's my thin brag. I would personally, even fucking booming lockdown, I would avoid the £7:22 £22 bounty hunter. There's a lot of discussion between the shit regs in the Discord about which is harder, and there's no question in my mind that the £7:30 has way more regs than the mega stack. I don't know why. I don't know if I could still be wrong. That's just my perception of it. I always find that tougher. Um, there used to be, I think at 9:30 on the weekends, especially, there's a £11 bounty to a 750 guaranteed. I think it wasn't that long ago where it was £1,000 guaranteed. That's a good one to flick in. But I completely agree with your analysis on the mega. Like it is pretty AIDS at the minute, but hopefully winter's around the corner. Well, the night's drawing and hopefully numbers start to pick up. As soon as the numbers pick up, for you, I'd be persevering with a mega stack, but certainly chucking more mains in.
What I've done in the mega stack when I have had my deep runs lately is I've waited till it's been running for like at least an hour, or maybe even later. Because I mean, it's nice to be 500 bigs deep. There's a bit of playing it and stuff. But so often I'll like read the mega stack close to the start. An hour and a half in, I'll still be around 10,000 fucking chips.
Yeah.
And I've like wasted an hour and a half mental energy on it to not really. Sometimes I'm even out, sometimes whatever. So what I've been doing, I didn't do last time, but lately is I'll wait until close to the end of late reg and I'll look at which players are out. And if fish have gone out, I won't register it. But if you look at the bottom and Bates has gone and Lolo's gone and fucking, if there's say 10 people out and 5 or 6 of them are, potential winners of the tournament normally, then I'll register it. If I look and there's 10 gone out and there's maybe only one named player gone out, I'll be like, well, this field's going to be pretty shit now. I'm only going to have 50 bigs when I buy in, and it's going to be a shit field, so I won't play it. So, I think the mega stack is age, but I think there's some value in late reg in it if the right people have
100%, 100%. The mega stack's the only bounty hunter that you can late reg. Like sometimes I won't late reg until 10 because normally only 4 or 5 have gone out in that first hour or so.
Yeah.
Like, so you're not really losing any of the prize pool anyway. So yeah, I definitely. I deliberately late reg it now.
Yeah, it's one of the only tournaments where an hour and a half in, average stack is still just about fucking start stack.
Yeah,
there's so few
100%,
people.
Yeah.
So I've been like, I didn't do it last night because I don't know why I didn't do it. Probably because my table count was low. But I tried it from the start. But I do think like just taking a view on it at 9:45 on am I playing this or not is probably better than regging it from the start. Just see who's still in, who's got chips, who hasn't got chips, and then just taking a view there and then. I think that's like, but that to get back to my point of like, I mean, I could off my bankroll, I could just fire them all. I could fire the 730, the main, the mini, the mega stack, the fucking mid X. I could probably even fire that 33 turbo because that looks pretty soft to be fair. I would never fire the quick draw because the £20 rebuy is not my idea of fun. But when you do that, and your tournament buy-ins are getting up towards like £150 a night, it's not that hard to have a 1k downswing, and that would, even though I could afford to absorb that, it would bore my piss. And on top of that, I still prefer playing cash, and I don't want to overload myself with tournaments. But I would like just a certain number of tournaments that I play that every night. So I think actually maybe just playing the main and the mid-X every night and just having cash in between that and taking a view on the fucking mega at 10 o'clock might be the way forward. Because I agree with you, the main is without doubt it's the softest tournament of the night outside of the mid-X. Without question, you've got more fish sat into it. You've got more fish just direct buying into it, I guess. And I think the 22s, apart from the mid-X, are all probably very fucking reg heavy. So yeah, I'm glad we had this chat because you're right. I should play the main every night, apart from Tuesdays and Saturdays when fuck them.
Yes.
I'm not playing Tuesdays and Saturdays because the shit. But and not Friday either because I refuse to play it. I've seen how much. I just see people firing infinite bullets into that.
Thing is, like Reg, I wouldn't. There's an argument again. Late Reg that, max late Reg that. I know I appreciate that it's a £62 buy-in, but at least initially, it plays quite nice after the. It's a bit frantic before the add-on, but then it plays much better. And obviously the bounties are obviously inflated quite a lot. So I wouldn't.
I appreciate what you're saying to me, fella, but come on, you've known me long enough. And I'm not going to fire 62 quid into a fucking donkey on a Friday night. Fuck off. Right, that's
You're getting a fucking. I'll buy a piece. You're getting a major. Fucking behave.
That's when the cash games are fucking best. On Sky lately, it's only at the weekends the cash games are good. I've seen what it fucking does to the streamers when you play it. Waller's like a fucking absolute bipolar fucking King Kong. He either fucking loves it or he's ready to fucking put his head through this. Not a chance. Not a chance of I playing the £20 fucking rebuy. But I do late reg the mini because that's, I think, a luxury. You have even more big blinds. If you max late reg the mini, you have more big blinds in that than you do the main. So I will max late reg the mini because you're in for 15 quid. And I agree that you're in a nice spot there. When you max late reg,
there's a grand at top of that.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. It's a nice tournament, so I'll do that one. And when you max late reg and take the add-on, you've normally got about average chips anyway, because a lot of players don't do either. You know, they'll just buy in for the fiver and that's it. So you're probably going to have average chips, and you've missed the first hour and a half of fucking bullshit that you have to put up with if you play rebuys. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for that, mate. It's been a genuine pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
Enjoy your annual leave. I know you said before we come on that you're on annual leave. Enjoy that. And if you do get bored around 8:30 tonight, just fire your fucking stream up. You know, because it's always a pleasure watching the Sky streamers.
I appreciate that. But I can confirm that the wife is booked in tonight. There will 100% be no stream. So someone else wants to pop in. And,
fucking Shrimpy's wife. Stop being a dick. Fucking don't book him in on Thursday. Anyway, mate, I do genuinely appreciate that. Cheers. It's been fun.
No worries, Red. I enjoyed that, mate.